Hello and welcome back to the Helmet Head podcast. In this episode, I want to talk about the cost of riding the world by motorcycle. Now, if you've not seen over on the main Helmet Head channel that you can easily find by putting Helmet Head into YouTube, I've been documenting my travel of riding around the world. Now, my whole goal, my whole aim is to travel the world while having a full-time job, having a lovely family, and doing each part on a motorcycle leg by leg. Now, the bike I'm riding is a Honda Monkey bike that's actually been heavily changed by a company called Ashworth Automotive into almost like the BMW GS of little 125cc's with full panniers, upgraded suspension. The engine's been really well sorted out and the bike's been absolutely awesome and good to go. So far in my adventure, before we talk about the actual costs, is I've managed to travel the whole length of France, setting off from the middle of the UK. That was leg one, but then I flew home. I worked my socks off to try and earn enough money while supporting my family and doing the job, and then flying back again where we did leg two. My aim for leg two was to travel up and do the entire sort of north side of Spain, really, or at least the top leg going along the coast. Unfortunately, during that time, I literally got to the Spanish north coast and my bike ended up having a problem where it ended up having a problem with second gear, with the cam chain rubbing against second gear. So my end destination for leg two was the north of Portugal, where my bike was being stored at a place called Pink My Bike, that's a tour company. So I literally gunned it from the coast and did about, I think it was about 180 kilometers, something like that, to Pink My Bike, where the bike was stored. Then they flew home again. Now, in my actual job, currently there's so many strikes going on. There's a lot of it going on in the UK, and I'm unable to earn any extra money, unfortunately. So I've struggled a little bit, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. So either way, I booked my next set of flights. I committed to do an entire tour of North Portugal with Pink My Bike. So we flew back, we hired out pretty much their entire fleet, and we did a Pink My Bike tour that is just taking in some of the most epic and scenic stuff, and also getting to see stuff in part of the tour that no normal, but not you'd averagely get if you were touring the country, because we were stopping at places because we had a Portuguese speaking person. They're able to translate, explain what we're doing, and nearly everywhere we actually stayed had its own kind of like vineyards going on and wine tasting and real history to every single episode. Now, on the Helmet Head channel, it is all fun, tongue-in-cheek stuff, and it is me as a person. So it's not a serious sort of vlog, but at the same time, you get an element of it all. So far, I've managed to do France, north of Spain-ish, and the north of Portugal, and that's as far as I've got in my adventure. Now, my aim, my goal is to travel not just around the world, but as much of the entire world as I possibly can over as many years as it actually takes me, aiming to sort of go and ride anything from 4 days to a week at a time, storing my bike in different locations around the world. So my next, for example, leg is I'm going to be riding a very, very famous road called the N2 in Portugal, and it's pretty much going up from the north of Portugal all the way down the N2 to the south to the Algarves, where the bike will be stored. And then from there, I'm aiming to fly home, work, fly back out, and then ride from there to Gibraltar. That's not far, but so I'm going to take a bit of a detour and do some of the sort of southeast of Spain, and have a leisurely sort of ride down to Gibraltar, store my bike there, fly home, fly back again, and then continue into Africa. And that's kind of the upcoming plans for that. But anyway, just doing 3 legs, and so far the cost, well, it is a challenge. There's no doubt about it, especially the way that I'm doing it. But one of the things I wanted to prove and inspire people is I want to prove that you can travel the world. You don't have to give up your entire life. You don't have to give up your job, sell your home, get divorced, and basically jump on your bike and just travel for a year, 2 years at a time. To be able to do it, I want to say, actually, you can jump on a bike, any bike of your choice. You can keep a job. You can make contact with dealerships, hire companies, even people, even if you have to offer to pay, store your bike, fly home, work hard like we all do, fly back. That's what I want to prove. That's what I'm trying to prove. Now, so far, just in money, There's no doubt about it. Like I said, because there's a lot of strikes going on at the minute, I can't generally afford to do what I'm doing. But I'm one of these people that now I've committed to it, and I know I can work hard to earn it off, and I've had support as well along the way. I have got myself into a little bit of debt. I'm not going to lie about that. But at the same time, so let's just talk about like really the cost of leg one. Now I left England, and then I got on the Eurotunnel, the tunnel that goes underneath the sea to get to France, and then obviously, like I said, I've rode the length France, stopping in hotels. Now you could do this entire trip a lot cheaper, and you could pick places to camp, and you could generally do it like that, just camp. You could probably cook your own food, and you could bring the cost right down. But the thing of it is, I'm a British lord, and I'm also, what makes me sound posher than I am, but I want to do it in a way that I enjoy. And for me, a hotel room after doing a lot of miles is exactly what I enjoy. So as part of this adventure, obviously I've been staying in hotel rooms. What I have been doing is booking breakfast in the hotel room, eating my breakfast, skipping lunch, and then just having like a main meal at night, normally with a couple of beers is my plan, and then I go off to bed at a decent time to edit the video. That's kind of how I've been trying to do it. Now, the one thing I love about the Helmet Head channel is that we invite people along, and I'm very open to people traveling with me. And to be honest, I absolutely love that. But that also involves more stopping for coffees and drinks and stuff like this as well. So obviously costs go up. But anyway, so traveling over from the tunnel, staying in the hotels, and then when I had got to the end, I was storing my bike at my dad's that lives in the Pyrenees in France. So that was actually probably one of the cheapest legs of the entire trip, because at the end of the day, it was very much just riding, breakfast, tea, hotel. So that was sort of like the cost of that. I don't know, I'd say the cost that was probably about, I reckon about £500 it cost me to do the first leg. And that was kind of where I set my kind of like where it was all going to cost me, about £500 a leg. That's kind of doable. So then we go on to the next leg. So you got to remember, I've flown home. So what happens then is obviously I need to fly back. So the way it works is this: is that for the second leg, I have to. First thing I do is book my flight as much in advance as I possibly can, because it keeps the cost of flights down. So I booked the flight there and back that was in the region of £100 for flights. Then you have to book airport car parking that's in the region of £100. Sometimes you can get about 85 with a discount code, but we'll say £100 because it's what it cost me the first time. So £100 in flights, £100 in airport parking. And then obviously when you arrive, you've then got to well, it was my dad that picked me up to get to Portugal, but you'd have to pay for a taxi. But anyway, so I was then given a lift there, and then I think I stayed. Did I say my dad for the first night? I did, because I arrived late and I set off early in the morning. I was really lucky because I had two people join me, but then it's the cost then. So then we were sort of stopping for a little bit of lunch, we were stopping for a bit of tea. So an average sort of food and fuel cost a day and beer was probably in reality about 120 quid. And we travelled for 4 days. So as you can imagine, this is adding up and adding up. And then on top of it, obviously with the cost of the extra hotel at the airport as well, I reckon the second leg of my adventure travelling was probably roughly around £600 to £700. And then it came down to the tour that I did on leg 3. So on top of that, I obviously then have to come back, and the further you go, the further the flights cost. So the second part of the trip was, I think, about £120 in flights, plus the car parking. The third leg. And then I had to pay for my accommodation during the tour as well to pink my bike. That was around €300. It was actually really well priced. But then on top of that, we got fuel. But we did stop every day. Obviously, we had breakfast. Then we stopped for a proper big lunch. Then we had dinner. And because we were a group, we had quite a lot of beer at night as well. So the whole trip, including the fuel, all of the food, the works, I reckon costs me about £1,000. So as you can see, this is all adding up. The next leg, I've already booked the flights. The flights have cost me £150 because I'm having to fly into Portugal and obviously fly back from Faro, that's again further away. And then looking at the flights after that leg is Gibraltar. That's £150, and I think it'll be more next time I fly out as well because prices are going up. So when I'm talking about cost of travelling, it's obviously really, really expensive. You can do it obviously a massive amount cheaper. Now for me, I've roughly put about £2,000 on a credit card because that was the money that I could have earned by working my absolute socks off. Because with my job, like I said, we're currently striking, we're working to rule, we're trying our best to get a pay rise, and basically we've been offered really bad terms and conditions and nowhere near what we should be getting. So this is an ongoing battle. I mean, I don't know when that's going to end either. So it is quite a struggle. On top of all those costs, there's a couple of other things I've had to do. Like because of the heat of wearing the black Ruroc helmet when I was abroad, I decided, because I had to pink my bike guys to be able to take delivery and move stuff for me, while it's being stored there, I've decided to replace my helmet with a white helmet. And then on top of that, because all the other people that keep meeting me are currently running Senecoms, and I had Cardo, at the same time I decided to get a set of Senecoms so we could be able to talk when we're on the group ride. They were €168. I think the helmet, I can't remember, I think that was about €200. So I had that purchased as well. That was at the end of leg 2. During leg 3, when I turned up and set that helmet up for the first time, it turned out that I didn't. I basically ordered a custom mount from Chin Mounts for my new Shark Spartan helmet that I somehow lost from leaving home to the airport, and I can't even figure out how that happened. So when I got there, I didn't have a mount, and obviously wanting to film because that's what I do. I'm a vlogger. I want to film my trip. I had to then go and find a mount. So then we went off shopping, couldn't find one, so I ended up having to spend 400 and something euros on a GoPro Mini Black that I didn't need, just to get the mount. And even better, the mount in it was curved and doesn't fit very well, so I ended up duct taping it on as well, and I've still got to sort that out when I go back. So that was another massive expense had to be added. On top of that, because I'm now traveling the world, and obviously I have quite a lot of commitments here in the UK, I'm having to buy double of some things as well. So I've had to recently buy another drone for the channel because the drone that I've got is staying with the bike, because I'm only doing hand luggage to keep the actual flights and transfers and everything really cheap, and it takes up so much room. So I've had to buy a second drone for the channel. I've got an upcoming Patreon me, and I'm desperate to film that with a drone to get the epic scenes and film the way that I film. So a new drone, a GoPro Mini that I didn't need. I had to buy another external hard drive for my laptop to back all my files up. Like I said, overall, I think so far the trip's cost me probably in the region of £3,000. I've put £2,000 on a credit card. I have been extremely lucky because so many people that support the Helmet Head channel and support me doing this crazy adventure have been sending me, buy me a coffee. I've had quite a few PayPal payments. That's massively helped towards booking future flights or helping me pay for sort of fuel when I'm out on the road. So I've had quite a few quid off of people that has been unbelievably mind-blowing. I've not asked for a penny of help, but I reckon we're about £3,000. Now I've booked the next set of flights. Yeah, that's another 150 quid. And I need to book a hotel for when I land for the next part of the leg. Again, it's a continuous thing. So my end goal, my hope is that the Helmet Head channel will continue to grow massively the way that it's growing, and the income of the Helmet Head channel will keep, because it is increasing every single month. What's absolutely amazing to see. Hopefully that will increase to the point where it can at least pay for the actual world trip itself. I'm looking to have a massive amount of patrons as well that support me. So with that coming in, what I'm currently doing with my money that comes in from Patreon and YouTube is paying off my credit card. But I'm obviously putting more on it than I'm paying off, if that makes sense. But my goal of it is as soon as work sorts itself out and we get a pay rise, I'll be able to pay that stuff off. But I hope that gives you kind of an idea of what it costs to travel the world the way I'm doing it. I generally think if you're looking at doing it the way I am, and my plan was to fly out every 6 weeks as well, but I'm so desperate to get the trip going, and because of personal circumstances and having kids and holidays coming up, I'm actually travelling currently every 3 weeks, obviously mental. But if I can't do the overtime to earn it, I may as well go and get some miles down. So what I'd say is a budget, if you're going to travel the world the way I'm going to do it, a realistic budget to make sure you're super comfortable. I think if you want to do it with hotels, do it in some kind of luxury, I think you're looking at around £1,000 per part, each like leg of the adventure that you do. I really do. And I think once you get past really Europe, because I'll be going to Africa soon, that won't be as much. But once I get out of Africa, I plan on going to Gibraltar. Not Gibraltar, Alicante. Then from Alicante, hopefully find someone in Barcelona or up near the border of Italy and stay there into Italy. Eventually, I'll be going through places like Turkey. I want to get to the Caucasus, but flights are going to get more and more expensive. So I think I will be going from around £1,000 to probably £1,500 by next year per leg. So just to bear that in mind if you're thinking of traveling the world. Like I keep saying, you can do it massively cheaper, but the way I'm doing it is, for me, with having to charge all my camera work, if you want to do it as a vlog or your camera, be able to edit on the road, have somewhere comfortable and secure to park your bike, this is the best way to do it. And hopefully that's given you a load of information in regards to traveling the world, hopefully. Like I said, you can watch my entire series over on the main Helmet Head channel. There is a link down in the description of the podcast, and obviously if you're watching this on YouTube, on the podcast section on the HH channel, then there's a link down to the main channel. You can see all of my crazy adventures there. But like I said, hopefully this will give you an idea of the costs and what's involved in it. I also just want to add as well, before I set off on the world trip, things that are important to take. This is quite big as well, not just on cost. Now I had to buy this stuff before I set off as well, but you need a pump for tyres, you need a tyre repair kit, you also need a small set of tools. I had to take myself a jump pack, buy a new jump pack, and a decent one. I can't remember the brand, but it is the top brand. What means that all can store in a pannier. So if I ever get back to my bike and the battery's flat, I can start it. If I have a flat tyre, I can hopefully fix it and put air in it as well. Tools in case I need to do a little bit of fettling. That always sounds really wrong to me. If I need to fettle the bike to fix something, then I've got tools. Duct tape as well. If you're taking GoPro, take a few spare GoPro mounts. Don't do what I did as well. First aid kit as well as that. They're all stuff you need to think about taking. Go for a white helmet. Don't go for a black, like I said, for when it gets really, really hot. Make sure that everything you can store on your bike, so you're only bringing hand luggage back as well. I stored, obviously I stored my bike, my road skin jeans that are absolutely awesome. I love road skin, by the way. You can get 10% off by the link down in the description as well from Roadskin, and I'm telling you, they are by far the best jeans in the world. Anyway, my Roadskin jeans are stored there. You basically need 2 sets of bike kit. You also need winter kit, so I've got heated gear that stays with the bike. I've got summer gloves, so you need winter gear, summer gear, white helmet, motorcycle with panniers that's been done by Ashworth Automotive, a Honda Monkey Bike, a 125cc. Is absolutely awesome. And I've got to say as well, anyone that sits there and goes, do you know what, it's nuts, you should only ride it on a GS, you should only take an Africa Twin, you should take one of the big bikes, you'll be surprised how much fun riding a little monkey bike and only really being able to do about 55 miles an hour actually is. It's a cracking machine. But you need all those things to be able to do it. Boy, I remember. Anyway, I could keep going on literally non-stop about traveling the world, and I will update and talk more and more about the world trip as it goes on. Hope you've enjoyed this podcast. If you have and you're listening to it on something like Apple Podcasts, please go and leave it a 5-star review. It really helps with people seeing it and it downloading. If you're watching on the videos on YouTube, please put a like and a comment. If anyone can share it, tell a friend about it. I'd really appreciate it. This is very new, the podcast side to me. I'm learning podcasting as I go. I'm keeping the videos very simple because for me this is about talking, about sharing experiences. If you're also a vlogger or a person with a motorcycle that's got an amazing story to tell and you're interested in coming onto the HH podcast channel and also being on the podcast, drop me a message. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, all of them. Just search Helmet Head. It is literally Google #1. Just stick it in there, you will see it all. Contact me and we'll set up an interview meeting and it'll be really cool. Anyway, take care, ride safe, and I'll see you in the next Chatty Bonkers podcast. Bye-bye for now.